I took the night shift because it paid more, and because no one else wanted it. The building was an old apartment complex on the outskirts of a quiet European town. 6 floors above ground, one massive basement below. My job was simple. Security rounds every hour, check doors, log any unusual activity, and stay awake until morning. The first few nights were uneventful. Too quiet, actually. No tenants walking around, no cars outside, not even stray cats. Just the hum of fluorescent lights and the echo of my own footsteps. But everything changed on the 4th night. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the elevator stopped working. I didn't panic at first. Power outages happened. I grabbed my flashlight and radio and decided to take the stairs down to the basement control panel. That's where all the circuit breakers were. The basement door was heavier than usual that night. When I pushed it open, a cold smell hit me. Damp concrete, rust, and something sour underneath it. The lights were on, but they flickered like they were struggling to stay alive. The basement was bigger than most people would expect. Storage rooms lined the walls, all numbered. Old bicycles, abandoned furniture, broken suitcases, things people forgot about once they moved on with their lives. That's when I noticed something odd. One of the storage room doors was open. It wasn't before. I knew that for sure. I had checked every door an hour earlier. I stood there for a few seconds, listening. No footsteps, no breathing, nothing. I told myself maybe a tenant forgot to lock it. Still, my hand tightened around the flashlight as I walked closer. Inside the room, the storage unit was empty. No boxes, no furniture, just scratches on the concrete floor, deep and uneven, like something heavy had been dragged out recently. I felt that familiar sinking feeling in my stomach. Why would an empty room be unlocked? As I turned to leave, my radio crackled. Static first, then a voice. "Hello?" I froze. The voice didn't sound like a tenant. It sounded distorted, slow, like someone speaking through a mouthful of water. I picked up the radio and asked who it was. There was a long pause. Then the voice said, "I'm in the basement, too." My heart started pounding. Why would anyone be down here at this hour? I asked them to identify themselves. Another pause. Then the radio whispered, "Don't turn around." I turned around anyway. Nothing was there. No movement, no shadow. Just the flickering lights and the open storage room behind me. At this point, I should have left. I know that now. But curiosity, and honestly disbelief, kept me there. I decided to check the security monitors. The camera room was at the far end of the basement. As I walked, I noticed something else. The sound of footsteps, slightly out of sync with mine. Every time I stopped, they stopped. Every time I walked, they followed. I asked myself one question I still regret asking. What if it's just my echo? The camera room door was already open. Inside, the monitors glowed softly. I scanned through them quickly. Hallways, entrances, staircases. Then I checked the basement feed. My blood ran cold. On the screen, I could see myself standing in the hallway, staring at the monitor room door. But behind me, there was someone else. Tall, unmoving, too thin. Their face wasn't visible. It was blurred, like the camera couldn't focus on it. I spun around. Nothing. When I looked back at the monitor, the figure was closer now. So close it was almost touching my back. That's when I noticed something worse. The timestamp on the footage said 2:09 a.m. 8 minutes earlier. The feed wasn't live. I wasn't watching the present. I was watching something that had already happened. My radio crackled again. This time, the voice was clearer. "You saw me too late." The basement lights shut off. I ran. I didn't care about protocol or professionalism anymore. I ran toward the stairs, flashlight bouncing wildly, breath burning my chest. Behind me, I heard something dragging itself across the floor, fast, desperate, angry. I reached the stairwell and slammed the door shut, locking it from the inside. I stood there shaking, listening. There was no sound on the other side. No scratching, no breathing, just silence. When the morning shift arrived, I reported everything. The cameras were checked, the basement was searched. They found nothing. No open storage room, no strange footage, no radio transmissions logged. But they did find one thing. In the basement floor, outside the camera room, there were fresh drag marks, leading straight to the stairwell door. I quit that same day. I blocked the building's number and never went back. And if you're watching this and working a night shift somewhere with a basement no one talks about, please remember this. Some places aren't empty because no one goes there. They're empty because something doesn't want witnesses. The apartment I lived in was cheap for a reason. It was an old residential building in northern Germany, the kind that looked normal from the outside but felt permanently cold inside. Thin walls, dim hallways, a basement that everyone avoided. When I moved in, the landlord gave me one rule: don't stay in the basement longer than necessary. He said it casually, like it was a joke. I was a graduate student working late nights at a cafe, so most days I came home after midnight. One night, I realized I'd forgotten my laundry downstairs, locked in the shared basement storage. I told myself it would take 2 minutes. That was the mistake. The basement door creaked open like it hadn't been oiled in decades. The light switch worked, but only half the bulbs turned on. Long shadows stretched across the floor, bending into the corners. The basement was divided into personal cages, wire storage units with padlocks. Mine was near the back. As I walked, I noticed something unsettling. All the cages were locked, except one. The cage directly beside mine stood open. No broken lock, no forced entry, just open. At first, I thought maybe a neighbor forgot to close it, but when I looked inside, I noticed something strange. The cage was empty. No boxes, no bags, no belongings, just a wooden chair placed in the center, facing the wall. Why would anyone store a chair like that? I unlocked my cage quickly, grabbed my laundry bag, and turned to leave. That's when the lights flickered. Not once, not twice. They flickered rhythmically, like someone was playing with the switch. Then I heard a sound behind me, a soft scrape. The chair moved. I didn't see it move, but I heard it drag across the concrete floor. Slowly. I froze, every instinct screaming at me to run. Have you ever been so scared that your body refuses to respond? I turned my head inch by inch. The chair was no longer facing the wall. It was facing me. And someone was sitting on it. He looked like a normal man at first glance, middle-aged, pale, wearing old clothes that smelled faintly of damp fabric and dust. But his eyes, they never blinked. He spoke quietly, like he didn't want anyone upstairs to hear. They always come alone. I asked him who he was. He tilted his head and smiled. They used to lock me down here. My heart started pounding. I stepped back slowly, my hand gripping the laundry bag like it could protect me. "Who locked you here?" I asked. "All of them. Tenants, owners, maintenance." Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "You have my cage." I looked down. The number on my storage unit matched the faded number painted behind his chair. That's when the basement door slammed shut. The lights went out completely. In the darkness, I heard the chair scrape again, faster this time. I dropped everything and ran blindly toward where I remembered the stairs were. My shoulder slammed into concrete, pain shooting down my arm, but I didn't stop. Behind me, his voice followed. "They never stay once they know." I burst through the stairwell door and ran up 3 floors before stopping. I didn't look back. The next morning, I went straight to the landlord. When I told him what happened, his face went pale. He didn't deny it. Years ago, a tenant suffering from severe mental illness had been locked in the basement storage during renovations. The door jammed overnight. No one checked until days later. After that, the cages were reassigned. New numbers, new locks, new people. I moved out within a week. Before leaving, I checked my storage cage one last time. It was empty. But carved into the concrete wall was a sentence I swear wasn't there before. "Thank you for letting me sit." I never used another basement after that. And if you live in an old apartment building, ask yourself one thing. Do you really know who had your space before you? Because some places don't forget who they belonged to.
That's the end of tonight's stories. If any of them stayed with you, you know which one. Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe. I'll see you soon.